A smartphone is a mobile phone that is used to perform many of the functions of a computer, typically having a touchscreen interface, internet access, and an operating system capable of running downloaded apps. Smartphones can be used for entertainment, connectivity such as communication, research, and information access. The device can store music as well as photos and videos and much more. The smartphone's steadily growing utility makes them increasingly popular. Today, around 30 to 35% of the world's entire population owns a smartphone. The device is essential for many owners, but a slight majority says it's not always needed. 46% of smartphone owners say their smartphone is something they couldn't live without. In this day and age, the home or office phone number is far less important than the mobile phone number, since a small device has various purposes and is to that also portable, making it more convenient. Studies show that nearly 80% of smartphone owners check their messages, the news, or other services within 15 minutes of getting up. The production of a smartphone starts with the mining of the raw materials which take place in many different countries, since a smartphone contains a great variety of resources. Minerals such as aluminium, lithium, and tantalum, as well as a variety of rare earth materials, are essential components of a smartphone. There are more than 60 different elements used in a smartphone. Countries for the leading sources of minerals which are used in the production of smartphones are China, Peru, Russia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The mobile phone screen is made up of indium and tin, which are mainly found in China. The microphone and speaker of the phone both contain magnets, which are usually made from arsenic and gallium. South Africa is one of the world's largest exporters of arsenic minerals. The major component of smartphones with metal casing is aluminium. The metal is an important component of the casing, battery, and the screen of the smartphone, taking up a quarter of the phone's weight. The major suppliers of aluminium are Guinea, Australia, Vietnam, Jamaica, India, China, and Brazil. Aluminium is extracted from its ore bauxite. In the mining of bauxite, the soil is first loosened up with explosives, which bring the ore to the surface. Later, the fragments are accumulated by giant shovels, which transport them to processing plants. But in a lot of cases, the bauxite is also mined by hand from workers without any adequate footwear, goggles, or face masks. Besides the dangerous working conditions and the low wages, bauxite mining also has a bad impact on the environment and the communities living around mining areas. Open mining causes air and water pollution. Additionally, an uncontrolled mining activity can cause severe mudflood due to the rock and soil being removed from the surface. When the bauxite is washed and crushed, the aluminium is extracted from the bauxite and it is sold to Chinese companies.
More than 5% of a smartphone is made up of cobalt. It is an essential component of most rechargeable smartphone batteries, because 60% of a smartphone's battery consists of lithium cobalt oxide. Most of the world's cobalt supply comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo. 20% of the country's cobalt mining is from artisanal miners, many of which are underage. Oftentimes, children join their parents in the mines, where it is not uncommon that someone dies due to tunnel collapses. Inhalation of cobalt particles, which is caused by chronic exposure to cobalt, can cause lung diseases. If the father or mother works in the mines, it's more likely for the child to have some kind of deformity or illness. Nonetheless, those artisanal workers do not use any protective equipment or industrial tools. They dig by hand. To retrieve the cobalt, workers descend into hand-dug mud tunnels and pits that are often many meters deep. One of our most modern consumer devices is made from raw materials which are mined with methods that barely advance those of the colonial times. Even with the bad working conditions and the long working hours, the miners only earn $2 per day. But the demand for work in the mines is still high because they provide much needed work for the region's millions of mostly impoverished residents. Tantalum, another mineral which is mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo, is extracted from its ore coltan. It is one of the conflict minerals which smartphones contain. Conflict materials are natural resources extracted in a conflict zone and sold to perpetuate the fighting. Other conflict materials which are incorporated in the smartphone are tin, tungsten, and gold. In the case of the Democratic Republic of Congo, there have been multiple conflicts since their independence, and in the last 2 centuries it has seemed as if the Democratic Republic of Congo cannot get out of their crisis, and as soon as a conflict ends, a new one starts. The economy of mining in the Democratic Republic of Congo is central to sustaining the conflict in the south. The country has misfortune in their luck. While they have lots of rare resources, militias and militaries exploit these resources and thereby make people work under horrible conditions. The minerals used in the smartphone, which are extracted in mines all over the world, are later sold in local metal markets. The ores of the minerals are then smelted in order to extract the mineral. Due to the smelting of ores from different origins, it's difficult for the companies which buy the extracted mineral to assess if those minerals are sourced from militia-controlled mines or if they were mined legally. Next, the extracted minerals are shipped to manufacturing companies, such as Foxconn. Foxconn is the world's largest contract electronic manufacturer, and therefore also the leading company for the production of smartphones. The majority of Foxconn's factories are located in Asia, but there are also some factories located in Brazil, Europe, and Mexico. Foxconn produces smartphones for smartphone brands such as Apple and Nokia. In the largest Foxconn factory in Shenzhen, hundreds of thousands of workers are assembling the parts of the smartphones. These employees are working up to 60 hours a week and are often unknowingly exposed to hazardous chemicals that damage their health. Foxconn was involved in a series of controversies because there were a series of suicides in the Foxconn facilities. It is claimed that those suicides were caused by inhumane working conditions in the factories. Partly due to the relocation to countries where labor is cheaper, smartphone components are often not manufactured by the smartphone company itself, but by other companies. For example, Foxconn manufactures smartphones for Apple. This leads to an out-of-sight and out-of-mind approach when it comes to who is responsible for the condition of factory workers. The vast majority of the value of the smartphone in the global chain is captured by the lead firm. A large share of that money is used for retailing and marketing. The mining of the minerals captures the least amount of value in the smartphone value chain. Artisanal workers who mine cobalt in the Democratic Republic of Congo are getting $2 per day, whereas workers in the Foxconn factories are already getting around $17 per day. An Apple marketing manager is getting up to $700 per day. A big part of the final price of a smartphone is translated into profit. For Apple's iPhone 7, 42% of the sales price are captured by Apple, while only 22% of the sales price is used for the purchase of the materials in the smartphone.
But now the question is, how much is your phone really worth? Yes, an iPhone costs $1,000 when bought in a sleek Apple shop far away from the problems which emerge from the smartphone production. But is your phone really worth financing a conflict that has killed millions? In the Democratic Republic of Congo, militias and mafias want access to the country's resources used for smartphones, and they'll fight for it. Countries also have been sending financial aid to Rwanda, which some claim finance Rwandan rebel groups that are trying to exploit those Congolese resources. These intruders not only exploit the environment, but also exploit people. They exploit them in the forms of forced labor, child labor, and rape. Medical infrastructures are more or less non-existent due to multiple conflicts in the region. People are dying due to minor illnesses and injuries that are often caused by the excruciating work in the mines. Dying of hunger is also not uncommon. These intruders inflict dreadful living conditions so they can fill their own pockets. So if this incredible device can give us access to information, why do so little people truly know the cost of what they're holding in their hands? Even though the biggest smartphone companies have done quite a bit to improve their production, it's still rather far from a sustainable production chain. These companies are structured like a Christmas tree. While people at the top earn millions, the manual laborers work and live under suboptimal conditions for minimal wages. Now, while the Christmas tree structure is how companies work in a capitalist society, that doesn't mean we shouldn't criticize it. A lot of people don't have a problem with some earning millions, but it's the bottom of that Christmas tree that is concerning. By improving the working and living conditions, people would be very satisfied with that company structure. We shouldn't forget how many jobs companies like Apple provide. Apple alone has 489,000 employees, and that's without people from manufacturing facilities. But there's still quite some room for improvement. Big corporations need to see that sustainability, transparency, and accountability are important to the consumers. So if there's increasing pressure, things might just change. The Democratic Republic of Congo introduced new laws in March 2018 that will increase taxes on mining companies and royalties. How much this will really help the workers' condition is not yet clear. The companies don't want to raise the price for minerals because then devices like an iPhone will become even more expensive, which will make it harder to afford, which will lead to less devices sold and lower profits. Lower profits often mean even worse conditions for the miners, or they'll even be fired. The government should consider implementing stricter working conditions and higher wages. Another aspect that could definitely improve is electronic waste. The amount of electronic waste which is produced by smartphones is drastic. Approximately 20% of the 8.9 million metric tons of global electronic waste were correctly recycled in 2016. In the United States of America, trash goes to the landfill, and while e-waste accounts for only 2% of the trash here, it's responsible for 70% of the toxic waste in landfills. That toxic waste can lead to groundwater pollution. One experiment showed that 40% of e-waste that was recycled was shipped overseas, mostly where the old devices were being broken down in uncontrolled environments, which leads to severe consequences in the environment and in human health, such as air, soil, and water pollution. Furthermore, glued-in batteries and the use of proprietary screws are used, which leads to smartphones often being shredded and then smelted when we think they're being recycled. Smelting is inefficient and ineffective at recovering many of the rare minerals. The recycling failure leads to a waste of precious materials such as gold. Additionally, money is wasted due to lost recycling opportunities, which could lead to billions of dollars of profit. Phones are usually able to last for 5 years, but in the Western consumer society, it has become normal to buy a new phone after 1 or 2 years. Constant demand for the newest, fastest, coolest phone and poor recycling of old devices leads to a high demand in all minerals in smartphones. Smartphones are also increasingly becoming more complex. This phone complexity requires more energy for the production, which induces a high demand for coal and other dirty forms of energy, then again causing air pollution and affecting everyone living in that region and their health. There are 4 R's when it comes to solutions. The first thing everyone should do for a more sustainable world when it comes to smartphones is to not consume as much, which means buying a new one less often. Your wallet will be thanking you too. Then reusing smartphones means maybe buying an old smartphone from a friend or a second-hand shop. If you really want a brand new smartphone, then you should recycle your last smartphone. But recycle your phone correctly, and also check out what the recycling facility does with your phone. The last R is rethinking, which means looking into what you're buying. Don't just look at which big company makes the most sustainable ones, but also take a look at some smaller, less-known companies. 3 companies that try to make their smartphones more sustainable are Fairphone, Shiftphone, and Puzzlephone. All of them are committed to better working conditions in the entire process of making smartphones. The consumer can also easily replace one part of their device, which then again leads to less e-waste due to less smartphones being thrown away, and when thrown away, recycled correctly. Transparency is of great importance to Fairphone and Shiftphone. So next time before buying a new smartphone, think carefully about the 4 R's. Reduce, reuse, recycle, and rethink.
For more information about this topic, check out the description box below. Please like and share this video to raise awareness.